So this week we have with Bobby Henderson from Scotland, and a lot of you will know who he is anyway. And for those that don't know who he is, you'll know by the end of this anyway. So, Bobby, tell me, whereabouts in Scotland are you from? What's the story with you?
Well, the borders really. The borders hairy. I was there for a long time. I was actually born in Midlothian. I lived in south side Edinburgh for a while. On a farm. Right. Yeah. And then I worked in East Lothian for a while. When I started to work, I started with horses. I didn't start with dogs. But it was a farm. It had a lot of sheep on it. There were 2 shepherds on it, and I would help if there were anything needing done with the sheep. So that kind of whetted my interest a bit. But and on top of that, horses were being phased out anyway. You know, tractors was the incoming thing, and they weren't attractive at that time. They were cold, smelly, everything you didn't want to be too close to.
Yes.
Yeah, so I opted for preferred livestock anyway.
Yeah. So just between the horses and the dogs, you haven't made too many wise choices then.
No, that's right. Yeah.
But, funny you're saying about Midlothian there. I went to university up in Edinburgh, and then I had a friend down in Galashiels, so I went down to his most weekends in the train. So I went down through that borders.
You've done past Harriet anyway.
Yeah, but lovely part of the world.
Yeah, a lot of nice bits down in there, a lot of nice scenery and what have you. Yeah.
Maybe just not as nice at the minute with the snow, but most of the year it'll be nice.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's nowhere nice in a bad day, I always say.
Aye. No. Aye. Well, right then, before we get into dogs, is there anything you're into outside of dogs at all? Or?
No. It was horses originally. Like I say, when I left the school, and I done all farm work with horses, ploughing and sowing and whatever, harrowing. But like they were dying out, so I started. My brother was big into horses. It was Clydesdales. I was broken an old young one too, and it was a job I enjoyed. And I still got a soft spot for the horses. Yeah, I go to the fall shows and things like that. When they don't clash with a nursery trial or something like that. Yeah.
Fair enough. So what age was it then that you started at the dogs?
I would be in my mid-20s maybe when I started. Maybe less, mid-23 or something when I started with dogs. Needing a dog for my work anyway. I didn't until I was close to 30. You know.
Yep, fair enough. And who helped you out at the start? Who got you into it?
Pardon?
Who helped you out at the start? Or did you just sort of learn by yourself? Or
well, there were no clinics in the days and things like that. So, but I knew a few. Joe Gilchrist was my main guru, and they didn't give too much away, the old guys in the days, but if you asked a question, they would give you an answer right enough, and mostly it was watching what other people were doing and picking up, as you went along. So
fair enough. Well, tell me this then. You've been on the team a hell of a lot of times, I'd imagine. Do you know how many times it's been there?
In the mid-teens somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. And what about the Supreme? Do you know how many times you've been in it, roughly? Or?
I've been in, I think it's 7 or 8 times I've been in the Supreme and the finals.
Aye. No, so 1998, is that right? You won it with Sweep?
Yeah, that's right.
So what was the breeding behind him, or what way?
Well, I started with Craig, and he was
Uh-huh.
the first dog I got in the team. And I've kept that line. I've still got it now.
Yes.
Direct mail line, right down. I think I've got it, 8th generation now, something like that.
Right.
Guy. So yeah, they done suited me. I was on a hill place, 3,200 acre. It was a big place, and 3 quads. So I walked most of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you needed dogs that could do a bit of mileage and save you a walk sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of suited me.
No. And that was in Carmichael, I take it. That was the same course as this year, or same area.
That's right. It was similar to this year anyway. It was in the same field,
So nobody could say you won an easy Supreme then, because that's a hell of a course.
Oh, I like it. It's a really nice course, a real good test anyway.
No, and well, would you say then? So you've had dogs. You even had Skid. I remember Skid there. 2017 was it 17 or 18? 17, I think it was. Maybe it's Skid was a good dog.
Yeah, he's the same line right there.
Well, who would you say then was Sweep the best dog you've ever had, or had you other dogs maybe just weren't as fortunate?
Quite a few good dogs. The father of Skid, Bill, he was a good dog as well. Bill and Sweet were 2 dogs that I enjoyed running, and they would do anything for you, really responsive and things like that. So, yeah, they were 2 good dogs. But Craig was a good dog himself, but I was a bit raw then. I maybe didn't get the best of him, although he was in his team 3 times in 5 years. So he was doing something right on his own, I think.
No, that's not too bad for just being raw, as you were saying.
Oh, no.
Well, tell me this then. What would be your favourite open course that you maybe go to throughout the year over there?
An open course. Oh, now that's a good question. That was one I hadn't really thought of, but Kelly Blackwood has a good trial at Abington. It's a hill course. That's one of the better open ones for now. Yeah, that's a good course.
No, because I ask that question there every time, because I tell you, the way it is now, people travel all over, so you could have Irish. Well, Kenny Donald even, we'll go the other way about it. Kenny Donald, Scottish over your way, he was over running. Jesus, he was running in trials more often than the ones from here nearly the summer past. So it's good to ask ones there what the favourite open course is, so you could maybe see it advertised and you think, just maybe go for a run,
A run, yeah.
And then with regards to international, what courses have stood out to you down the years that you've seen there?
International.
Yeah, what course, Supreme course have stood out to you?
The 2 I done well at was Carmichael and Chatsworth. I was reserve Supreme in Chatsworth with Sweep.
96?
Yeah. That's it. And that was a good testing course. It was a real test too, because part of the time you couldn't see the dog. They were running behind trees and stuff like that, so you had
hard to dodge lines.
It was quite a test.
No, fair enough. Well then, moving on again then, what would you say? I have in my head anyway what I think your dogs are. What type of dog do you think you run with? Like, would they be your hardy hill dog maybe, or more trial, or what way?
Obviously, I'd rather run with my foot in the brake than the accelerator, and that's kind of what I like, just steadying them rather than chipping them on and encouraging them.
No, that's not much use when you have to ask them 2 or 3 times to get up.
No, they're on the hill and they're half a mile away.
No. So with regards to your handling then, would you be quite vocal? Maybe would you have to be on them dogs' cases all the time, to keep on them, or would you be quite quiet when you're handling her?
Well, folks say I'm a quiet handler.
Aye.
I don't talk much to my dogs. It's mostly all whistles,
Yeah.
except at hand,
Aye.
Aye.
No, fair enough. No, because it's funny, I was doing a wee bit of reading up beforehand there, and I seen obviously you won the Supreme in '98, but I also seen that you were Lanark, Lothian, and Peebles Nursery League nursery winner. You'd won it 21 times in 2017, which was a record. Have you won it many times since 2017, or?
Yeah, well, I think I'm about 22 or 20, something like that. But lately, I've been trying to buy dogs into running. But first, they had their 50th year's trial.
Yes.
Last year, I think it was, and I'd had a young dog every year for the trials, and up till now, I've still managed to get one for every year. So that's 52 years I've run.
You've won it pretty much half the years you've been running at it there.
Certainly the first 45 years I won it, at least half the times I was at it. But
they'll love to see you coming on a Saturday anyway.
Yeah.
The other competitors love to see you coming on a Saturday.
Well, I'm not a big threat now. I can't get the dogs now somehow.
Right. Well, what's the crack then with the dogs? Are you're saying you're buying some in previous years? Then would you have worked just with breeding your own, or would you still have bought in? Or
no, I used to take 3 or 4 service pups every year, and I would see what I got out of them. Just work through them if I thought, nah, he's not really going to suit. I would let it go at 8 months, 10 months to somebody that was wanting a dog. And usually, I always managed to have one at the end yet. Sometimes 2. There were 1 year I had, 2 years I had 3. 1 year I had 3 in the 5 for the final. And
yes.
1 year I had 2 in the 5 and 1 was reserve for the final. So that was the years I was lucky with a lot of pups coming through,
Yep.
But that was my thing. I spent a lot of time with young dogs.
See, that's interesting there. I've just picked up on that. Kept 4 or 5 pups. Let's say half a dozen pups.
Aye.
And you're coming out with a couple on nursery finals every year. Or most years, you have a couple.
Yeah.
You hear now if there's people maybe sitting with 20 or 30 dogs every year at least.
Aye.
And they're still struggling to come out with 2 goods.
Aye. No, I could mostly 3 pups, maybe, definitely no more than 4. And I would always get 1, but often 2 that were good dogs,
Yeah.
And I used to just take them through the nurseries, and if they were better than the ones I had, molten dogs, I'd keep one on and sell one of the molten dogs, because that ground I was on, it's heather and steep and rocky, and so old dogs wasn't any good for you. For that job, so you had to keep your dogs relatively young.
Aye, fresh.
Yeah.
Aye. No, so then you're having quite a good success with, with regards to buying or keeping your pups and taking them through.
Aye, yeah.
How do you reckon? Would you have them out, say, maybe more so working then, or would you have been out focusing on training, or what way?
I used to start them in a wee field, and get basic control on them that I could call them off the sheep. And they would follow, and then I'd take them to the hill with me after that. Once they were about over a year and a half, something like that, they were ready to go to the hill. But any real training to get them on sides and stops and things was all done in the wee field.
Yes.
Closer at hand with some quieter sheep.
Aye. No. And what's when you say the wee field? I remember I was over with Ricky Hutchison maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, right.
He was talking about the wee field they had for starting the pups, but it was maybe 10 acres. It wasn't really a wee
yeah.
field at all, but it was his wee
Oh,
field compared to the others. But what when you
aye,
say wee
no,
field, what size do you mean? Or
maybe 3 acres, something like
aye,
that. It
aye,
was ideal. And you could get a little bit of an outrun on them and things like that then before you went on to the whole ground.
yeah, yeah,
Kind of
yeah. No,
basic things.
yeah, no, fair enough. So now you're buying in dogs. Then are you still sticking in predominantly to your own line, or are you buying from other
No,
dog different?
I can't really get them off my own line now, so I'm buying dogs in, but they're different kind of dogs, they're just, I don't know, they're wider flankers and a bit less come forward about them and things like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still looking for another star to appear.
Aye,
Aye, yeah.
they're not too easy found these stars.
No,
that's for
they're
sure.
definitely not. There's a different kind of dog.
Aye, no, they even I have pedigree sheep there, and you go to the sales, and
Aye,
like the blue Leicester seal, I have pedigree blue Leicesters there in Beltax, but the blue Leicester seal, there could be maybe they got to 350, 400 rams in the seal.
aye.
You could struggle to pull out 10 real lambs that you would
Aye,
really want to buy for breeders' lambs. Like,
aye,
these
aye.
wouldn't turn as a pound.
I know that's true. That's the way it works. All sorts of seals. And you can pick the good ones, but you can't buy them so easy.
Aye, no, it's easy picking them, but as you say, the buying's a different problem.
Yeah.
They well then tell me this, what would you were saying you're taking the young ones out and starting them in that wee field. For people new to sheepdogs, what advice would you give them? Like real good advice that you give somebody starting out that maybe they're completely green, they don't know what.
Well, that was quite a help to me. Get a bit of command on them before you let them too far away from you. Some of them try to get a stop on them when they're 100 yards, 150 yards away. They might as well not bother because you've no contact with the dog, not enough to make them stop anyway at that kind of distance. You learn them close at hand, I think is what you want. Sides as well. Keep it up close.
So don't give them an excuse to get it wrong.
No, that's it. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because all the top handlers, that's what they say. It's all this. A lot of them talk about that close at hand. And if you listen to even the rugby players there, say they're kicking, for penalty kicks or conversions, they all say the same thing. Basics. You have to get the basics right.
Aye. Yeah.
And then the other stuff comes so.
Aye. No, it's true. Once they know their sides, then you can give them a row if they take the wrong one, because they know it after that. But when they don't know them for sure, if they're taking wrong ones and you give them a row, they wonder what it's for.
Aye. Yeah. Confused. Yeah.
Yeah, just confusing.
Aye.
And I don't abuse the dogs in any way, but just my voice, just a different tone, is they know if they're doing right or wrong.
Aye, but it's home. Yep. No, I think that's good advice because I suppose a lot of new ones coming in, they maybe see the likes of yourself and other international handlers and think 800 yards, geez, I need to send my dog as far as I can, as quick as I can.
Yeah, no, that's the wrong plan, really. Doing everything right at 100 yards before you start that. Even turning them back and things like that. Learn them close up the whistle and going back. There again, I think, because it's on a big course, you're going to be doing that, you try and learn them 200 yards away from you or something like that. Well, it's really hard for the dogs to get that,
Yeah, you're setting them up almost to fail if you're going.
That's making life difficult for them. Yeah.
Aye. No, fair dues. Right, well, you've been at it a good few years. What three handlers in the past, so let's just say before, say the early 2000s, and before that,
Before
what three handlers would have stood out there?
Well, we had a lot of good handlers in the borders. You had Davy McTeer and Johnny Bathgate, Joe Richardson, Joe Gilchrist, Jim Gilchrist. They were a team, and a national, half the international team could come out of that area some years. Yeah. So there was a lot of competition at the trials then.
Yeah.
All the boys was in my area, nursery area when I started at the nurseries too, so you didn't get much, get away with much then. You know? But and then the west side, if you got to the national, you had Davy Shannon, Bob Shannon, Johnny Temple was the main man at that time, I think, and Stuart Davison, Alistair Mundell. There were lots of good handlers, even in the borders. Some that I didn't mention, Bill Elliott and Johnny Robinson, and some of the guys, they were all on the go at that time, you know, and a lot of good handlers.
Funny, the names you mentioned there, like,
Yeah.
like everybody knows them. Like anybody that's on the dogs, any length of time knows these names. Like they.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're all guys that had been there and done it.
Aye.
You know.
The funny thing I've noticed as well about some of these handlers, like the top international handlers, I noticed you go to nurseries and them international handlers, I would call elite handlers. You have other handlers who are good handlers, but they're not maybe the international handlers, but they're still quite good handlers.
Aye.
They can beat them international handlers in nurseries, but whenever it comes to the opens, then they
Yeah.
just seem to be they're just that level above them when it gets to opens.
Nursery dogs are nursery dogs.
Aye.
But if you want them to go to the top, you have to take them on a bit, you know, for the nurseries. So that's where the difference comes in, I think.
They're beatable nurseries, but they just don't seem as beatable when it gets to that open.
No.
And it's the same dogs that they were beat with in the nurseries.
Yeah, no, that's,
that's
right.
Well, tell me this then. What three dogs would have stood out to you from back in them days, or dogs or bitches? You know, what three stood out?
The obvious ones would be Jock Gilchrist Sport and Johnny Templeton with Roy won a lot of trials, and Jock Richardson's Cap, of course, and Sweet. He had a lot of good dogs. David Sears Ben was another one. There were a lot of able dogs at that time. Yeah, if you were looking for a stud dog, you hadn't too much bother finding one.
There's no shortage.
No shortage, no.
And then moving on to like the present day, then what handlers, if you're going to international there, and say you're in the canteen or you're in the beer tent, and
aye,
is there three people you think to yourself, right, I can't miss, I have to get out to see these three run? Who would stand out to you?
In days gone past, or
no, present day now.
Would be Wynne Edwards and Glenn Jones, and well, I even seen Alan Jones and these guys. The first time I was in the team, it was a real tough section. There was Alan Jones and Marion Jones, Wynne Edwards, Glenn Jones. That was the Welsh team.
Yeah.
Took Longton and a lot of the top guys, Jim Cropper and that were in, and I don't know if they were in the English team. I can't just find that year.
But they were knocking on the door most years, like.
Yeah, aye. And that, like I say, that was my first time in the team with Craig, and I won the qualifying, which was a bigger surprise to me than anybody else, although it was a surprise to everybody else as well. And then the next morning when we were up for the Supreme, the gale or hurricane had got up, tipped the big Arctic trailers, the grandstand trailers was all lying on their back.
Oh, jeez.
Aye, so it takes some wind to shift them.
Aye.
So it was hopeless after that.
No. Gee, that's serious. Blown over the grandstand.
Craig wasn't long at the nurseries. He was like 3.5 maybe. So you needed to be in contact with him, and the wind was just
too much for it.
Aye, yeah.
No, funny that Alan Jones. I read about him and I've seen I think a video on YouTube about him. He was a serious handler, was he not? Like back in them days.
Aye, he was a good handler. Yeah.
And then moving on now to the present day, then what handlers nowadays would stick out to you that you would want to see?
Well, there's Stuart Davison and a lot of these guys are still on the go. But Ian Brindley is the kind of strongest one we've got just now, I think. Shannon, Fraser Shannon, he's a good handler because he's a younger guy, really. But there's no the same number of guys that are expected to win the international in the Scottish team now. At one time, there would be 7 or 8. You see, if the wind blows the right way, the guys could win it. But I don't think we've got that strength of dog in Scotland at the minute. But, it goes in cycles. I mean, the Welsh dogs was winning it all the time. In the 90s, it was Scotland every year except Ireland won it for the first time. That was 97.
Yeah.
But up until then, that whole decade was Scotland won the Supreme, and I think they won the Team Shield every year as well, right through then.
So consistently at the top of the level.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention Stuart Davison. The very first trial I ran was in Scotland, and I went over there. I thought, if this is a disaster, nobody knows me, and I can be a disaster. Go back home again, and nothing will come from it. But I went to Scotland, and it was a good run. I had a real good run, and funny, the person before me was Stuart Davison, and I've always thought Stuart Davison, what a handler. And I thought, of all people to be following Stuart Davison, and then I've got to go my dog,
no pressure.
But I would have no nerves of trials at all whatsoever. But that was maybe the only time I thought to myself, geez, if it had been anybody other than him to be following,
well, that's the thing, and it can happen that way, It can happen.
Well, what about the dogs now then? Is there what sort of 3 dogs would stand out to you, sort of, the last 10 years till now, that you like a lot of?
Yeah, well, they're mostly Welsh dogs that's been winning lately. That key bitch, Kevin Evans, she seemed a really nice little bitch. Fraser Shannon, like I say, he's had a couple of nice young ones come through. Ian Brindley's always knocking on the door. So, but we're a wee bit scarce of them at the minute.
Funny, Fraser, he's knocking them out. He's bringing out dog after dog. It's not, it's not just a one-time. He's starting to. He's starting to knock all the time.
Well, that's it. He kind of went off. It wasn't so keen for a wee while, but I think he's got his interest back again. Hopefully, anyway.
Not if the results he's had his last year or two. If he hasn't not arrested after that, there's something badly wrong. He's going strong.
That's right. Aye.
So, right, you'd have a pup then, say, you back in the day, you'd have picked out your stud pup, and 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it may be. Take me through that then. What would you have done in them early days, then, before even training? Would you had them out in the yard learning them to stop and come back? Or
I tried to handle them and get them out. Well, I was fortunate in that I was at Ladyside most of that time, and there were no passing traffic and things like that, so the pups could run about just practically all the time. They were shutting at night, but they could run about quite a lot through the day. So that was good for them, because they see what was going on, and if you were going somewhere that they weren't going to be a bother, you'd take them with you and things like that. I think that's the other online ones. A lot of them I'm having trouble with. They're no starting them like that. They're getting them, have them in their kennel, put a lead on them, take them to the training field, put a lead back on them, take them back to the kennel, and they're not learning to follow you. When I get them home here, whatever way they're facing, they run, and then you shout them back, and they come back and run straight past you, and they're maybe 50 yards the other way before you get them stopped. And that's just the lack of socializing them right, and things like that, I think.
Aye. Well, how do you go about that then? Let's just say you've bought one in there and he's running about and he's not coming back to you, right? How do you go about that?
Well, I lead them for at least a week, usually. Keep a lead on them, let them get to know me, and I'll get a longer lead on them and learn them to come on the lead. When I ask them to come back, I'll just give them a wee pull in, at first. I mean, the dogs, they're over a year old. They should be doing all that without any water. But and then they get to learn their boundaries a bit,
Yeah. I suppose you're not falling out with the mailer, like you're doing it in such a way that you're not.
That's the thing. You're learning them, and that's the key with a pup as well. You don't want to frighten it, but if you can, well, with training dogs, that's what I always say. You always try and make it so as if you need to enforce something, you can enforce it. Right? Like saying, don't try and stop them at 200 yards away. Just so as if you walk forward at 50 yards, they know you're coming, and you can keep walking till they stop when you've told them to stop. That kind of thing,
Yes, because funny, you'll probably have heard of him. He ran for Ireland a good few times, Martin Doherty. He was telling me that he had a young dog years ago, and he got to a couple of trials, and he sent him up the field, and as soon as he got behind the sheep, he'd have told him to stop. And he just kept coming. So he had him at a trial one day, and I thought, forget about the run. He wasn't doing it at home, he was doing it at trials, because he knew he was in a trial he could get away with it, or he thought he could. So Martin sent him up the field, and as he went up the field, he took up the field as well. And was halfway up the field, or whatever distance it was. I made him stop. And he said after that, next trial he went to, you tell him to stop, he stopped. But it shows you, it's not that they don't know. A lot of them, they're trying to take the hand.
Yeah, they're a bit like kids. They'll try and get away with whatever they can get away with.
I've seen myself there. You sometimes maybe make excuses for them, or maybe they don't know, or maybe. If you've that good foundation put in place that you're talking about, they've no excuse not to know that.
No, they know. They're just being disobedient if they don't stop or don't flank or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, tell me this there. The dogs that I've seen you with, or even Ross will be a relative of yours, isn't he? Like you seem to work with a rough-coated dog.
Yeah, I like a rough-coated dog, and no too big a dog.
So if you're buying dogs in now, are you trying to buy that rough-coated dog, or you just buy whatever you like a lot, whatever looks nice and cheap?
If I see them on the video and they've got a nice method and things like that, but on the video, they've maybe been running for half an hour before they start filming them. So they look a bit steadier and a bit more balance about them.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
I mean, I've heard that.
I know. The amount of videos you see and the dogs are tongue out at the start of the video.
Yeah, and well, they can cut out the bits that they think you don't want to see and things like that, But once you get them home, it's like buying a lottery ticket. I think one day I'll hit the jackpot. But
You're always waiting for that day.
It's a bit in the future.
No. Well, tell me, I'll say, that skid dog. Would he have been a young enough dog at that international you had him at, or 2017?
No, it would be six or something like that. I would think at that time.
So he's long gone now. Then I take it he's gone now.
Yeah.
Because he was a lovely looking dog, like.
He was a good little dog, Skid, and you could put him anywhere as well. Him, Bill and Sweet were all that kind. If you ask for something, you got it. You know, they try their heart out for you. So it was the kind I liked. And I've got his son, Skid's son still. This Bob dog that I've got now. He's the same kind of type of dog, just a wee bit more pushy sometimes. You know, the connection with him is not as good as I had with like Skid and Bill and what have you. Partly I think because I've not got to work for him, just playing it now. So that's partly what's holding him back.
Funny Skid. I had a pup out of Skid. Mike Northwood took a bitch to you at one time.
That's right.
And I called the dog Leo, and he was out of Skid. It was a lovely wee dog, and he was going nice. It was starting to go really nice, actually. And he would have done nurseries, but then COVID hit. And I ended up selling him to Sweden or whatever. Like, but I remember he was out of Skid dog. And it was, would you say there a moment or two ago? It was like a natural outrunner on him. Like, he didn't really ever have to show him how to run out. He just naturally.
That's they either have that or they don't do. You know, a lot of them, if you force them out, they'll leave you straight to the fence and follow the fence. And you should be hitting that. They're going for the sheep up the field. They're not going to gather the field when you send them. You know.
No, well, he had been like a natural outrunner, as you're saying. As soon as you said walk, you didn't have to ask twice. He was looking to move on, you know. But only for COVID, I probably would have been kept on, you know. But tell me this then. You've been at it long enough to know the ins and outs of the whole thing. If you're judging a trial, is there anything in particular? And obviously, I've said this in all the other chats I've had. Obviously, you want the perfect run or whatever, but is there anything that you really hit hard, say, like maybe a shed not done right or an outrun too wide, or is there something in particular when you go to judge a trial that this has to be done right?
Well, it depends or anywhere. If some turns tail, I really hit that.
Turns tail?
Yeah, can't do them turning tail. You know, a lot of them at the pen will do it. For no good reason anyway. Occasionally you'll get a dog wrong-footed. You know, the sheep going away full blast and he's going away to meet it. But he just can't avoid it unless he turns the wrong way. But other than that, anything that's doing it for no good reason, I'd take their pen off for a start.
So if you're at the pen there and the dog turns tail or whatever, would you take 9 points? 9 points off them then? Or? Yeah. Funny, I've asked this question. All the chats I've had, there's been about 10 or so roughly, and that's the first time I've heard that, and that's why I like asking this question because you hear different things most times there. You know, of what people really don't like.
Everybody's got different.
And it happens. You see them turning tail. You know, it happens often enough at the trials, like.
No, you just don't want to encourage that. I only had one that was a bought-in one too. Turn tail, he could turn tail for Scotland. And if you went to catch some or something like that, it was just hopeless, you know. Even taking him against the fence, he would turn out instead of turning in. I done more running than him that lambing time. And I was fitter by the end of it, you know.
Well, see, that's the thing there that you're mentioning even. You're coming at it from a practical point of view then, that you know.
Yeah, well, it should all be from a practical point of view. That's what trials was started for, to improve the shepherd's dog. That's what they said.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of folks lost that reason for it now, I think.
Aye. Because there is people that just solely they trial and that's it, and they have
yeah.
10 sheep.
They're inclined to make their dogs robots after that. They can't see the practical side of it. So as long as they go right and left and stop and start, they think they've got a grand dog.
Aye.
But they would be lost on a hill with a lot of these dogs.
Yeah.
Aye.
So it really does. It hammers home whenever you're speaking to you there, then, for example, that a dog, you get away with a trial, a dog goes really wide and hits the fence. You wouldn't. If you're working up in the hill there, that's no use to you.
No. He would gather the next cut of sheep. When I was on the ladies' side, I had 12 different cuts of sheep. And I had to bring them in. Well, see, you're choosing ewe lambs for stock. You wanted to bring in each cut separately. So you had to go and get that cut of sheep in without disturbing or picking up anything else. So you didn't want dogs that was going to go away a mile wide and pick up some of the next herd. Aye, yeah. So it's practical reasons for it. Aye.
I know it's good to hear that because the likes of this year's international, that's just that's just a course there that you could think that's just somebody going to work. It's a real work course. That it's not really it wasn't a trial course as such. It was a work course.
Work course. You're going away to gather a sheep for a job, so your dog had to do all these sections and do them right to get it done. Aye, but that was a testing course.
Even the qualifying, because the dogs were going too wide.
Well, there were for them. You see, on the Saturday they get away with the kind of dogs. The field's got a boundary that they can hit, no look too bad anyway.
Yeah.
And an open field like that, then they began to look a wee bit silly. Some of them was doing the Supreme course before the qualifying was passed. Yeah.
I know it wasn't a very forgiving course. If you made a tiny error, it was magnified in that course. It was.
Oh, it definitely showed.
No, I've said that now a couple of times. It's good actually to speak to somebody that's coming at it from a proper shepherd point of view. Because I try and make work at home for my dogs. So if I'm out checking the sheep, I'll maybe shed them off and count that batch, and I'll shed off the other batch. I don't need to do it, but I try and make work. Whereas you actually had that work growing up, over the year.
That was right. Well, especially on the ladies' side, you'd go away some days to bring the hogs in for clipping or something like that. But there were no fields, there were no fences except a boundary fence. So you'd have to shed the hogs off on the hill and bring them back. So you needed an able dog, two kind of dogs that would work together to get that done.
Well, then tell me this: you're finding it harder to get the dogs now and whatever. Would you run to many opens now? Do you still try and get to every open you can get to, or do you pick and choose? Or
I pick and choose quite a bit. I didn't travel that far now. I never did travel as much as a lot of the other guys, that used to go all over the country. Because that was, like I say, that was quite a big job then when you were walking. And I always tried to get everything kind of checked at least the day before, and then it was looked in the morning before I went away. But if I got one trial a week, that was enough for me, and one in the weekend was ideal. So I didn't do as many trials as a lot.
You weren't running to every trial.
No, that's it.
There's fellas over here, and they're married, whatever, and you're thinking, how the hell are they still married? Because they're running to every trial there is.
That's right. They do a big mileage, some of them nowadays.
Or maybe that is the reason they're still married. They're not at home to annoy the wife, or vice versa. The wife's annoy the husband.
There's two ways of looking at it.
Aye. Aye. No, fair dues, fair dues. They well, going forward now then, what dogs have you got at the minute? What is your saying? You have your
Well,
open dog.
I've got a son of Skid, and then I've got a son of him now,
Uh-huh.
just a 4 month old or something like that. So that's keeping that line going. Um, I'll try and get something else down that line, I think.
Yeah.
I can. I think the online sales is just too much a gamble. I think I'll try and get some that I can go and see, and you get a better idea what you're getting, you know. But
No, the online sales, they have a purpose and they're great, but as you say, it's
well,
hard to beat seeing them.
somebody needing a dog can go there and get a dog. So yeah, that line, of course, I got a good look at it because I judged it the time before it was there, time before I won it. So I had a good look at that course. Aye.
No, funny. I was talking to Bobby Dale there one day, and funny, I was saying to him I was at the international this year at Carmichael, but I was coming up into the grandstands and I spied it was you, Aladone, and Bobby the three. He's like, and I was thinking to myself, geez, it's like there's some amount of national, the times you've been in the nationals and times that you've been in the supreme between the three. He's like,
that's right. I remember talking to them right enough.
I remember looking at that time. I thought, just if you had a fraction of what these boys won over the years, you'd be doing all right. Like, well, what about the national then? We'll discuss that as well. You've won the Supreme? Have you won the national many times, or what way?
No, I haven't. Yeah, that's the thing that irks me. I've been second and twice third and maybe twice second. I can't remember, and fourth and fifth, and I've always been there, but not quite there.
Well, it hardly matters if you win the big one. That's the one that matters.
Well, that's what they say. Aye, yeah. No, as long as you get in the team, that's the main thing. Aye, yeah.
Aye. No, aye, it's getting there, and then after that, see what happens. Aye. Well, the World Trial, and that's been held over in the Borders, on 26th.
Yeah, that's just come out quite recently, so I don't know too much about it yet.
Oh, you don't know? That was the next question I was going to ask you. Have you been down? Have you seen what sort of ground it's on, or?
I know roughly what kind of ground it is, but I think I've been at a nursery there on that farm. I wasn't competing, but to look at it, and I think it's mainly an arable farm with grass fields, but there'll be big grass fields on it as well, I think.
Big scope.
Aye, yeah. So it should work pretty well. But it takes a lot of sheep and a lot of organising for that.
No, that's the thing. A lot of people don't realise that. Like there's 3 fields going once. The amount of sheep. I know in Ireland anyway. It's really hard to get it in Ireland, but it's probably not too easy over your way either to get it.
It's not easy, really, nowadays. There's not so many farmers, there's not so many shepherds for sure. But even farmers that's trialing that has a big enough number for, certainly for an international or a national anyway. The national's the main one for numbers, isn't it? Yeah. You need between 700 and 800 for their minimum. So.
No, it's not just every farm you can turn up to and pull that out.
no, at that time of year, especially because a lot of sheep's nursing lambs and stuff as well. So that doesn't work that easy. But
no, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Scotland generally, you always think of these big courses in Scotland, so I would imagine it'll be no different this time around. So.
No, I would think they'll have something big enough for sure.
No, that's about all, Bobby. Thank you very much for your time. Like for myself, whenever I had been at the trials, River, like, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, yourself, Stuart Davison, Bobby Dale, like, there's three handlers for me personally that in Scotland. I always thought, geez, I want to see these boys, like, because they've been consistent over the years, like. So it's been very nice to actually get chatting to you and hearing your thoughts on it, you know.
Aye, yeah, well, I've enjoyed talking to you. That's for sure.
There's not too many can say that. But no, thank you very much for your time anyway, and we'll hopefully see you about.
Aye, for sure. Yeah, we'll see you.
All right.
Right then. Thank you. Bye.